This is the video lecture on revenue recognition. Now, in a previous video, we talked about various principles of accounting, and one of the main principles is called the revenue recognition principle. And it states that revenue cannot be recognized until it has been earned. And most of the time, that's not a problem. So whether we're selling a product or selling a service, most of the time we do the work that's necessary or we provide the product that's necessary, and in most cases we have earned the revenue. But on occasion there will be certain circumstances that are a little bit different, and we sometimes have to delay the revenue recognition. But for the most part we will strictly adhere to that principle. But at the same time, there are going to be certain circumstances of an unusual nature in which we would actually depart from the revenue recognition principle. And we're going to focus on one particular situation specifically in this video, and this is on a long-term construction project. Now, anytime you have a long-term construction project, this is a very unusual situation because a lot of times it can take a long period, perhaps even multiple years, in order to finish the project. So if we were going to just go by the revenue recognition principle, that means that we wouldn't recognize any revenue until the project was totally complete. Well, the problem with that is that's not a very good matching of our revenues to our expenses, because the entire time we work on this project, we're going to be spending money on the project. So that's why we're going to depart from the revenue recognition principle and actually do something else, something a little bit different. And what we're going to do is called percentage of completion. Now, under this method, we're going to go ahead and recognize part of the revenue as the project moves toward completion. And this is, like I said, a slight departure from principle, but it is allowed under GAAP specifically for long-term construction projects. Now, in order to understand this, we're going to have a few formulas that we're going to utilize. Most of them are fairly straightforward. The first formula is the percentage complete formula. This is going to help us understand at what point we are in the process. And it's very simple. All the cost to date divided by the last estimate of total cost. That will give us the percentage of completion. Then once we have that answer, we then can figure out how much revenue to recognize. We take that answer, percent complete, from the last formula and simply multiply that by total revenue. That'll tell us how much revenue we can recognize. And then lastly, final formula is the revenue that we've already recognized minus the revenue up to that point will give us how much we can recognize in the current time period. So to see this in an actual example, we have a business here that has been contracted to construct a building. The total price contracted is $2.5 million, and it's going to take us 2 years to complete the building. The total estimated cost is $1 million. So as a result of that, what we're really looking for is a profit of about $1.5 million based on our estimates. Of course, it is a 2-year project. So in year one, at the end of year one, I want to know how far along am I in the process. And depending on what that is, that's how much revenue I can recognize. So by the end of year one, they have already spent $750,000. And it says they feel there's an additional $350,000 yet to be spent, and it will be spent next year on the project. So using my basic formula, cost to date divided by estimate of total cost, that's $750,000. If they think it's going to be another $350,000, then that in total is $1.1 million. So $750,000 divided by $1.1 million, I get 0.68, or that's the decimal equivalent of 68%. So we're saying that by the end of year one, I am 60% complete on the project. So I'll take my total revenue, $2.5 million, take 68% of that. In year one, I can go ahead and recognize $1.7 million of the revenue. Then in year two, by the end of year two, now they have spent the entire $1.1 million. And it says the price of 2.5 now has been completely collected from the client. So at this point, I'm 100% complete. So 2.5 is the total revenue. Altogether, I need to recognize 2.5. But last year, I went ahead and recognized 1.7. So that leaves an additional $800,000 in current revenue to be recognized. So that's just a basic example of a long-term construction project when you have to recognize part of the revenue in advance. And in the next video, we're going to have a lengthy problem demo where we're going to do another one of these problems that's going to be in more detail.